me and Monica are both a little skeptical about stuff like this, but we're always open to trying new things.
Or is it just an object that I kind of make myself believe that me taking care of this object and me actually believing in it is going to protect me?
Big Pharma is definitely, the biggest one, and, all the people who are benefiting from that financially, legally, whatever it may be. Anyone who has something invested into it, when it trickles down and when it comes down to actual doctors, like who you go see for your annual visit every year, most likely that doctor does not have bad intentions.
Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Totem Podcast, where an act of rebellion is to question. Like always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. But of course, like always, we got here
Eric. I'm your other co-host here on the show, and today we've got a really interesting guest here on the show today.
No, yeah, we like to go. We like to experience everything and being able to talk to all people from all walks of life. And we always like a challenge. It gets your brain thinking, gets the juices flowing, and everything. So, Madeline, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, both of you.
Yeah. No. So for the people who don't know, like, who you are, can you just give a little brief breakdown of like who you are, what you do, what kind of just a little bit about you?
Yeah, definitely. So some people in the community might know me for different reasons. I wear many different hats. So you might know me for my canning and baking business, seeing me at local farmers markets or shows like that. You might know me because I sell you trees. You might know me because you're one of my clients and I have a holistic practice. So I do a lot of different things, but the reason why I'm here today is to promote and focus more on my holistic practice. So I'm an integrative health and Reiki practitioner. On top of that, too, I also consider myself to be a psychic medium, energy therapist, and medical intuitive. So I'm more than happy to explain those a little bit more in depth. But essentially, I'm a holistic health practitioner, and I work with my clients to provide them clarity and healing, especially when they are experiencing health issues or dealing with things that aren't really well treated with Western medicine.
Yeah, just real quick, like no disrespect or anything, but like, how did you get into like this whole realm of stuff? Because usually when you're, I don't know if you're like, when you're younger, you don't say like, oh, I'm gonna go to learn this, I want to do this, or I don't know if you did. I mean, how'd you get into
Yeah,
it?
definitely. Thank you for asking that. So I've had experiences my entire life, and it's actually interesting. There are some schools where people can go study like mediumship, which I find really fascinating. But I've been having mediumship experiences my entire life. I've been having psychic experiences my entire life. I've been experiencing like any of the clair abilities my entire life. So I think it was something that was just thrust upon me. I didn't really have much of a choice, but I went to school to study Reiki, reflexology, my health and wellness coaching, to become an integrative health practitioner, to study herbalism, aromatherapy, things more like that, where I needed more of the background. But then I think in doing that and being on the path that I was on, the more I exposed myself to alternative modalities or to healing modalities, the more my own innate abilities opened up. And then the more experiences I had, and then I kept pushing myself more and more and more, and they just kept growing and growing and growing.
Do you think it's more important to have like you're saying, the experiences that you say, or just go to college and try to learn it? Because I'm a firm believer, like, if you're not experiencing it, it's hard to tell people like what's really going on. I think of like in business and life and whatever you're doing. So like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I think it's a little different, for people who usually turn to a holistic practice, or even if you look at like a Western doctor in general, usually people who are attracted to healing or, healthcare or social work fields are because they are embodying the person that they needed when they were younger in some capacity, or there's something in them that drives them to give back to people and to help people. But for myself, I've noticed a lot of holistic health practitioners turn that way after experiencing their own health issues and crises, and then they resolve it through holistic medicine. I think when it comes to more the spiritual metaphysical things like tarot, being a psychic or a medium, those are usually things that you just are gifted with and blessed with. I do personally look down a little bit upon schools where people go and learn like mediumship, not necessarily because I think that it's a bad thing to teach people how to refine that skill and how to be safe, to have energetic hygiene in a way, but more so because of I think the stigma it passes along. And I do fully believe that, you know, people who have these abilities may not properly know how to utilize them. So it's important to have like a center for learning and like a safe space. But I don't think that it's necessarily something that you need to go learn. However, on that note, I will say that I think everyone has the potential to, you know, awaken themselves and to step into whatever, you know, higher spiritual belief system or being, whatever resonates with them. So I don't think you necessarily always need to study these things, but I do think at times it helps to have a little bit of a push or a helping hand.
So like the schools, they're not like really to like, I wake up one day and I'm like, oh, I want to become a medium. It's more like you have the gift, but it's like more to like refine your skills. From
my understanding, and again, unfortunately, I don't know much about them. I've never been, but I do know there's some mediums who have gone, and it's just something that I never really felt inclined to do myself. And I actually teach a psychic and mediumship development course to, you know, people who are trying to refine their skills and, you know, learn more about themselves, because I do think that there is a lot of energetic liability that exists out there.
So you're more just like self-taught?
Yes,
okay.
Definitely. And I do say that, you know, I feel like I learn through each of my experiences. I think, you know, each of my client interactions and really just every interaction I have with someone in life, I feel like, you know, you learn a little bit about yourself. You know, like everyone's a little bit of a mirror in some way, or there's something there, you know, why we're all connecting to each other. So I think that in that way, too, I'm able to learn a lot. And then also through my own mistakes, I've learned.
I think that's important, not just like for what you do, but like for everybody. It's like whether they're at their job or just having different experiences with people, it's like, what can you learn from this like experience, and then like, how can you like better yourself?
Exactly.
It's like this happened for a reason. Okay, like let me fix it. So like next time it doesn't happen or whatever. But I think it's just important for people to keep like developing that and just keep trying to get better, not let those same mistakes happen as they did before.
Do you think, Eric, that people actually see it like that though? Like,
no,
let me learn from this and get better.
That's how I see it. That's not how everybody sees it.
Okay.
I don't know why. I think that just comes like with like we're more into like the self-development stuff. So it's like, how can I keep bettering myself and how can I keep improving? But then there's other people who just self-development is not part of their life, which I think everybody should have some sort of self-development. Whether it's just like paying attention to you, how you're feeling, working out, getting in shape, or reading a book, learning a little bit of something. I think it's important for people to do that, but not everybody thinks the way we think. It's some people think we're a little crazy sometimes, a little weird.
That's what makes it fun, though.
Exactly.
They don't think, if you're fitting in, no one thinks you're crazy. You're not doing crazy enough stuff.
Yeah.
Like big enough stuff. But I was curious. You said like that when you were talking about like sometimes we need like that awakening moment. Do you think we can kind of like awaken ourselves like to a time, or we need help from someone else kind of?
I think it really depends on each person, truly. Like you were saying, you know, some people are, you know, trying to improve themselves and develop themselves, and I would say that that's in a way an awakening, and almost a spiritual awakening too, in a way where, you know, you're realizing, hey, I need to take care of my body in this temple, I need to respect it, I need to have a good relationship with it, I need to, you know, have a good relationship with my mind, with my heart, with my spirit, everything. And so I think it's going to look different for each person, you know, what this lifetime, you know, is going to entail for each person. I've seen some people where they're very awake, but they don't know how to use any of their abilities, and, you know, they're just kind of there. And so a lot of times they get really drained by people. You know, they're very empathic, things like that. But then there's some people where I feel like they keep trying so hard and they just have something blocked within them. So I think it's really a case-by-case basis.
Do you think too, like, it can be, there's something like blocking within them, but then it can be kind of like the atmosphere, the people you surround yourself with? Because like you're talking about like how like we feel and stuff. Sometimes we're around people, like we're completely honest, we're around people that just completely drain you. Like after you're done with like talking with them, you're just like, oh, like you feel drained. So like kind of to your point, like it could be you're hanging around people that are just draining you. Right?
Yeah, no, I completely agree that our environment can either make or break us. And I mean, if you look at this, even if, you know, you're looking through a psychology perspective or lens, or even through an educational perspective or lens, like there is that idea of, you know, nurture versus nature. And I think it's so important to realize that who we surround ourselves with is really a reflection of who we are. And, if you're surrounding yourself with people who, don't have a good relationship with themselves, with the people in their lives, who maybe have really bad habits, you're probably going to pick up on those things. So I totally agree that when you're in a good environment, you're able to blossom and grow, whatever that may look like for you. That may be, you clean up your diet, you start working out, you things like that. You do meditation. For other people, it may be like, they were around people who were taking their energy, and now they're able to have a lot more energy again. So it really just varies.
Do you believe in nature or nurture?
I believe in both.
In both?
Mm-hmm. I think that both impacts each person, and I think, again, the way I view just people in general, in life in general, and especially my clients is, everyone's a unique individual, so we need to treat people uniquely. That's part of why I went down this path, because I don't think it's, really the best practices for Western medicine to just be, here's one prescription for everyone, for everything, not taking into account all their different health issues, their family health issues, things like that, how their body works with things. So I think that, in general in life, how we're raised definitely has a really big impact on us, but for some people, it may impact them more than others. I think that free will is a very important thing, though, and that everyone has it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think to a certain extent, it's like, yes, like your environment stuff, but it's like how you're talking about like that free will. Mm-hmm. Like if someone's like in a shitty situation, it's like the saying that always goes like, where there's like a kid, like a son, and he has like a drunk father. Or there's two sons, and they both have an alcoholic drunk father who's always abusive and stuff. And then one of them's like, he grows up to be the opposite of his dad. He's super successful, and then the other one grows up to be just like his dad. Mm-hmm. And the one who's the complete opposite, he says he's that way despite his father. And then the other one who's just like his father, he's like, I'm the way I am because of you.
Exactly.
So it's like, to a certain point, it is like free will. Like, you can't keep blaming everything on your environment. Like, if you're in a shitty situation, yes, it sucks. You might have to step back a little bit further. You might have to start your journey a little bit further back than everybody else. But then, at some point, you gotta, how they say, you pull yourself up from your bootstraps and get going.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. And I think that, unfortunately, a lot of people lack accountability and that self-introspection. A bit that you were referencing earlier about the ability to, reflect and realize that you want to improve your life, you want to grow, you want better and bigger than whatever is going on.
How do you think people can start doing that?
Oh, gosh.
Because it's not easy.
It's not. I think that the biggest thing is creating the space to have that relationship with yourself and to have those conversations with yourself, and it's going to look different for each person. For some people, they may need the space to just be like, hey, I am being really hard on myself. It's okay to be gentle on myself, and it's okay to, kind of grieve this aspect of myself and to realize why I have these high expectations of myself. For some other people, it may be, hey, I need to have higher expectations for myself, and to realize, hey, where does this avoidance come from? So I think it's just really cultivating that space to be able to even sit down and have those honest conversations with yourself, but then also to be able to maintain it too. And I think that, unfortunately, for a lot of people, they just are kind of going through life in the motions, but I do think that there's a lot more awareness developing, and there has been in the last 10 to 20 years especially, where people are realizing more and more that they want more from life. They want greater fulfillment and a greater connection to themselves and others. And I think, too, the other thing is surrounding yourself with really good people and being in a really good and healing environment. You can't have a beautiful tree grow in a dark, dimly lit, room without any water.
Mm-hmm. Kind of going off the stuff you're saying, we have to have those honest conversations by ourselves. Mm-hmm. But I think that's one of the biggest problems that, we're kind of made creatures to interact with one another, to have conversations, do stuff. And it's easy. You can just tell with the baby, because I have a little boy, you put him to sleep and he's there and he just feels like he can be sleeping. He feels like he kind of left the room and they kind of wake up, and then it's the average person, challenge for everybody. When you're driving, don't put no music or whatever, like no noise, and just sit there with your thoughts. Most people, they can't. They at least have to have the radio in the background because they're scared of their own thoughts. It goes back to the conversations by yourself. A lot of people don't have them because they fear what the answer's going to be.
Exactly.
I was about to ask you that too. It's like, why do you think people don't start doing it? And I think it's because it's they're afraid to know the answer.
They're afraid of the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite kind of lines. The man in the mirror is the one you cannot lie to.
Exactly.
And
it goes back to in I think 5th and 6th grade here in Fort Morgan. I think it was every Friday, like towards the end of the day, they'd always play Michael Jackson's song "The Man in the Mirror." And it's like, if you want to be the person who makes a change in the world, if you want to like become a better person, if you want to do all these great things in the world, it's all gonna start with the man in the mirror. Like, if you can't face the person who's in the mirror, if you can't better that person, then all these things that you want, it's just not gonna happen. So it all starts back with you, looking within yourself, realizing you're not the person who you should be or who you want to be, and then work towards that.
Yes, I completely agree. And that's really cool that they played that. I think that's like such a sweet little motivational message on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah, and it was just weird. Like, I don't know.
You're probably one of the only like 5th graders that really paid attention to it, though.
No,
when you're in 5th grade, you're probably not like,
no, it was
funny. The one.
No, it's funny though, because we all started like, oh yeah, this is a bunch of bullshit. Like, yeah, sure, let's listen to the song, goodbye. But they play it every single Friday. So at some point, you just gotta accept it, and you're just sitting there, and then you just like slowly start paying attention to it. And I think that's underrated. That's like that they just had it, and then I think the thing with it was that it was just like consistent. It's like, and it's like the thing we talk about all the time. It's like, people might not hear the message the first few times. For some people, they will hear it right away. Some people, it takes a lot longer. And I think that's the trick that they had playing the song. Is just like, probably didn't hit the first couple times, but they played it so often that eventually it catches on.
Exactly. And I think that's a great analogy, again, going back to everything we were talking about, of like, sometimes it takes a few times before you're able to acknowledge the man in the mirror, before you're able to acknowledge yourself and those thoughts, and to be able to sit with your thoughts and feelings. But it does happen eventually. And I think that for a lot of people, they avoid them because they're aware to an extent of their truth, or the thing that they're suffering with, the thing that's causing them issues, that's causing them pain or hurt, and they just don't want to deal with it. They want to avoid it. I think that a lot of people avoid a lot by being very busy, and our culture and society just promotes that.
What I mean, if I don't know if you can answer or not, but like, what, I guess, percentage of people that you say that you kind of work with are just like that, don't want to kind of like really accept it, or they know they're there, but they're just like kind of afraid to actually like accept it?
I would say probably at least half, if not more, of my clients are usually very aware of their issues. And they are just like, yeah, I know, you're reading me, I know.
I feel like that's true with like everybody. Like everybody.
Well, if you know why you doing something different, it's like
it's like that video in Spanish. It's like, si saben cómo me pongo, ¿para qué me invitan?
Oh yeah, the guy.
And it's like people know what's wrong with them, but they just choose to just close it off and not deal with it.
Exactly. And see, that's where I see that manifest as health issues long term. And there's so many different studies, linking emotional trauma or trauma, with health issues, especially autoimmune conditions, digestive conditions, chronic conditions, neurological conditions, especially fibromyalgia.
Sorry to cut you off. What's fibromyalgia?
Fibromyalgia, yes. So it's a neurological condition, and it's also autoimmune. Usually most things that are neurological are autoimmune to some extent. And so basically it's a condition where there's like widespread pain throughout the body, and a lot of times it'll manifest as like having like a bullseye mark in different spots on your body, and there's certain pain points throughout the body that are very sensitive. So like kind of on the back of the head, kind of into the shoulder area, a little bit going down on the sides of the body, kind of the knees, things like that. And the symptoms vary and they manifest differently for each patient. But there's no known cause for fibromyalgia. There's no cure for it. and it, you know, it varies. There's different sensations where they can be like tingling, hot, burning sensations. They can be more cold, numbing sensations. But it's essentially, you know, nerve misconduction, nerve misfiring, and it causes nerve pain then.
Okay. So how do they, I guess, test it to know if you have that?
So it's a diagnosis of exclusion. So you have to go through a series of tests. And then after that, it's like, okay, you have fibromyalgia. And that's how it is for a lot of chronic conditions, a lot of autoimmune conditions. And, you know, unfortunately, Western medicine just doesn't treat those things well. They don't have the answers. And I know that a lot of doctors wish that they did, but they're like, okay, well, we can do medication. Here's this.
Do you think they don't have the answers, or they don't want to give them to you? Because then it's at the end of the day, it's a business. It sounds messed up, but it's kind of a business model for them. If they kind of keep you coming, if they fix you and you don't have to come back, if they fix you like nothing hurts, you're not gonna come back. Like
no. So I think it varies. You know, and there's a lot of different players and factors to take into account in this conversation. Big Pharma is definitely, you know, the biggest one, and, you know, all the people who are benefiting from that financially, legally, whatever it may be, you know, anyone who has something invested into it. So I think, though, when it trickles down and when it comes down to actual doctors, like who you go see for your annual visit every year, most likely that doctor does not have bad intentions. They are just doing what they were taught in medical school. And, you know, there's some doctors where they might have a different moral compass, but it's going to vary just like it varies for each person. You know, just like it varies for the Walmart checkout lady, just like it varies for, you know, the cop on the highway. Yeah. Like, it's going to vary for everyone.
Yeah, and it varies. If there's, especially I think if there's incentives behind it, it varies a little bit more for that.
Why do you think people come to you as a last resort after, like, Western medicine hasn't worked for them? If, like, after so many thousands of years that humans have been on Earth, it's been treated holistically, but then all of a sudden we got like new modern medicine and people trust the medicine way more, and they don't even think about doing anything holistically to like better their situation.
Yeah, so there's definitely been a shift in the last, you know, 100, 150 years when it comes to medicine, as well as just in general lifestyle and socioeconomic factors and living conditions for a lot of the world, but especially if we're just going to focus on the United States. We'll just keep it within that containment, those boundaries for now. So I think that there has been a really big push, and again, it goes back to Big Pharma, it goes back to money. I do think it definitely is a bit of a model, but I do think that especially after post-COVID, a lot of people are waking up to that and realizing like, hey, there's better health alternatives. You know, there's better ways to boost my immune system, to treat these things, to keep myself healthy and my family for that matter, because I know that just really caused a lot of issues, and it still is causing a lot of issues for people.
Shout out to the Liver King. I don't know if you've heard of him or not. No. He's huge on like social media, and like very popular because he promotes like an ancestral way of living. Like him and his family, they just eat like raw meat, raw organs, and stuff like that.
Oh, why?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's like big.
And it's not all natural. He's on steroids, guys.
He's like
this guy's like super like you have to look him up. You have to look him up.
He's like super ripped and stuff, but the reason he went that way is because like his one of his kids was always in and out of the hospitals, like health problems and stuff, and everything they did, they couldn't like figure out what was wrong with them. But it wasn't until he started like doing like the ancestral living, like living more off the land, like eating more like organs and stuff like that, where his health improved. So like that's like the main reason he did it, like living more, like I guess you could say maybe like holistically.
Yes.
But it's like people don't focus on that. They focus on him doing some weird stuff on camera.
Understandably so. He sounds like
he's
a personality.
He's a character.
Exactly.
He's a character. Yeah.
Yeah, but so that's the carnivore diet. It's the raw carnivore diet. So that's one extreme of many different diets to treat issues. And I would bet that child had autoimmune conditions and a lot of weird digestive issues too going on, potentially some thyroid or hormonal dysfunction as well. And so, you know, for some people, they claim that the carnivore diet works for them. For some people, it's going vegan to eliminate cancer or whatever health issues they have. So I think it varies, you know, for each person. But I do think that in general, people are getting really fed up with Western medicine. So, you know, that's why they're seeking alternative and holistic practitioners like myself. And I just really think that everything with COVID shined a light on that much, much greater.
Especially the jab.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely been a lot of tension in our society the last few years.
Mm-hmm. What's one of your biggest frustrations, like, as what like in your profession, like what you do? What's the biggest thing, I guess, that you would say kind of like holds you back?
Yeah, I do get a little bit upset and frustrated when people claim that I'm doing like something really dark or something with bad intentions. Like I've been accused of, various things by, like people associated with certain, Christian religions or beliefs or churches. They have come up to me in public or at shows. And it's more so when I'm doing like tarot or psychic medium readings, not so much the health aspects. And they like accuse me of like consorting with like the devil or Satan, and I'm like, okay, like, okay.
That escalated quick.
It's really, really difficult for me to deal with. But then also I think it kind of translates to, Western medicine and the health side of, I think I do get really frustrated at times for not being taken seriously, even though I've been able to give clients diagnoses, or I tell them what I believe my diagnoses to be. I tell them what tests to go do. They go to the doctor, they get the diagnosis that I gave. So it's really, frustrating not being taken seriously by Western medicine, but then that kind of emanates out and echoes out into people too. So I think, just on both sides of, both the spiritual and the holistic realms that I overlap, it's not being taken seriously. It's not being, I guess, respected for what I do.
Yeah, I guess you're going against...
What's like your response to people who like look at somebody who like does what you do and they call bullshit? They're like, oh, that's not real. Like, don't even believe her. Do you try to like convince people to like believe what you believe in, or is it kind of just like you try to explain to them like what's going on, or do you just not even deal with them at all?
Yeah, so I kind of read each situation, as it comes up. Everything is case by case with me. So, if someone is attacking me, and I've gotten some people who have been verbally like aggressive with me, like saying, I'm doing like witchcraft and I'm like consorting with the devil or Satan or something, like I get pretty upset. I don't ever raise my voice or anything. I don't like, stand up or get in their face, like I remain,
and that probably makes them even more mad.
Yeah, I remain exactly how I am with you guys, and I just explain in a calm but stern tone, like I'm not doing this, and I'm trying to help people, and I want to help you too. Because my biggest thing is anytime someone comes to me with any type of judgment or criticism, is I don't want to reinforce that belief for them. I want to help them work through that, and I want to prove that they don't have to have that judgment or criticism or belief. I don't want to just further, reinforce it for them in any way. So for some people, if they just come up to me and, they're walking by me in public or at a show or something and they're just not interested, I don't try to say or do anything, because it's not my job to convert people. It is my job to defend myself if someone's attacking me, and to, present a good appearance and public face for what I'm representing in the holistic and spiritual communities. I take that, as a very serious responsibility. But, if someone wants to come up to me and kind of talk to me about what I do, and if they have questions and if they don't understand, I'm happy to talk to them. But I'm never trying to convert or push someone. And, for some clients, especially if, I'm dealing with another spiritual or holistic practitioner, the way I'm connecting with them in a session is going to be way different than the way I'm connecting with like someone who might be a little bit more skeptical, or it's their first tarot reading or something. That flow is going to be a lot more there, because we're able to talk the same language and everything. Whereas I kind of translate then into that other person's terms. My biggest thing is I'm always trying to kind of bridge that gap between people and that communication and their understanding, because I think, that's the thing that we're here to do in life, is just to connect with each other, to help each other.
So you're not like, would you say like you're religious or not?
I am.
You are?
Mm-hmm.
Does that pertain to like a certain religion, or just like religious as a higher power?
Yeah, so I think I am both religious and spiritual, but I think that in a lot of religions there's an overlap between the two. So I come from an Irish Catholic family, But I know that, even in Irish Catholicism and then, some Roman Catholicism, there's a very spiritual aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
And, each country, each, church, each family is unique with what their beliefs are. However, I do naturally align with a lot of Christian beliefs myself.
And so have you found that there's like, I don't know if problems the right word, but like people that, like, when you do your spiritual readings and stuff, there'll be like people be like, but then you say you're religious and then you're doing this, like a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you feel like people try to come at you like that?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever really had anyone ask me my religious identity or beliefs during a reading and trying, to bring that up. So I don't think I've encountered that situation. But it's been more so in the way when people just come up to me that are from certain religious organizations or groups, and they're just like, you're consorting with the devil. And I don't bring religion up into that at all, though. Really, because I feel like it's just going to become a, he said, she said type of thing, where it's like, okay, what you want me to do is stop being me and join your religion and just be quiet, is the sense I'm getting. Okay. Whereas I more so want to have like a conversation of like, why do you believe this way? And, why are you accusing me of these things? And, I think that it's really interesting because a lot of religions talk about, things like prophets, like oracles, and it's like, okay, but you're not going to, respect someone who maybe has some of those abilities or, can help with health miracles, things like that. I think it comes down to the intention of the person. If you're acting from a place of, love and healing and trying to just help someone, then that's what matters.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that's like religion-wise, is there stuff that there is like in how that you don't agree with like 100%, and then there's stuff that you do agree with? Like, are you kind of like in the middle? Like, how do you, I guess, how do you consider yourself? Because like me, I'm Catholic and stuff, but it's like there's stuff that you still like. I mean, I'm a curious person. I consider myself a curious person, so I always like to ask questions. But a lot of people sometimes within the churches and stuff or the religions, you ask something and now you're like, it's like you're frowning upon them. Yes. They don't like it. So
it's our motto here on the podcast, an active rebellion is question.
It's like if I can't question everything, I think,
Yeah. I completely understand coming from a Catholic family. Although I will say Irish Catholicism is a little bit more lenient. I don't know if you know much about it. But yeah, it's definitely a lot more lenient. And so I think for myself, when looking at each religion, and especially Catholicism, I find Catholicism to be very strict. It's very much based on a system of like guilt and repenting. And I think that, to an extent, it's important to have, guilt if you're doing bad things and to repent. But I noticed for a lot of Catholic people, and my family included, it's kind of like, you do a bad thing and then it's just like you do your Hail Marys or you do your confession, then you're good. Whereas I think, you need to have more of that aligned lifestyle change and action. And, I think that there's things in every religious text that I don't agree with. Like there's some definitely interesting parts of the Bible that, there's some more extreme beliefs in there. But I think that for a lot of people, they don't look at, the whole aspects of a religion. They just kind of look at what they were raised with, the church that they go to, what they say, things like that.
I feel like it's like I don't know if problem's the right word, but it's like people just grow up in that environment, so they're just like, oh yeah, sure, whatever, and they never think twice about it, instead of actually like sitting down and thinking like, oh, does this actually make sense to me, or have I just been going along with it just to not cause any trouble or anything?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that what it comes down to is a lot of religions are trying to, spread their word to help people, and unfortunately, I'll say this especially, coming from a Catholic family, there was a lot of emphasis on that fear and that guilt, and so it felt very controlling to me. And I do think that there's definitely been times where religion has been used throughout history to control people and to instill fear, and I think that's when I really have an issue with it. It should be a place of community and connection and love and hope and faith, and to give people a greater, connection to themselves and to whatever higher power they believe in.
I've heard that some people view it as like, I don't know if like view it, but they find it necessary to feel like that fear, because it's like, if you don't have like a fear towards something, then you're just gonna keep doing whatever you're like doing in life. But then as soon as like there's a higher power and you like fear it, then it's gonna kind of like, I don't want to say control, but it's gonna kind of like, you're gonna hold back more on doing just random bad things out in the world.
Yeah, it gives you like guardrails. Yeah, and I agree for some people it's like that, but I would say that for a lot of those people, they don't have that self-inspection, of like, hey, I shouldn't do this just because the Bible or God tells me not to. I shouldn't do this because it's just not a good thing to do, I do think that religion can be very helpful, and I think that especially, if you're looking back throughout history, it was an essential part of humanity and society and culture, and I think that we would have, definitely dealt with a lot more hardship without it. So I think that from my perspective, especially the issue I have with the Catholic Church is it's just that system of that guilt and that fear is really heavily embedded in Catholicism. There's a lot of undertones of it, and that's just the part that I really didn't like. Like, I didn't like feeling guilty for no reason. I didn't like feeling like, I had to do all these like rules and things. And yeah.
But I think too, like, to be completely honest, I don't think like the Catholic one is the only one that's bad. If we're going like that stuff, if we actually you start going,
I want to say bad, just strict.
Oh, there's some that are even like way worse, I think.
That are far more extreme.
Yeah, that go way.
I completely agree with you. Yeah.
But I mean, that's just the one that we're kind of like raised, so that's the one we're talking about. But like, I think there's some other ones that are just like way worse. And I have a theory, so for people, don't get all offended and stuff. But I feel like the people that are really close, like you're saying, like, oh, I did this, but I'm just gonna do a couple, pray a little bit, and then I'm good. Like, I forget. Like, no, I think that's the problem. I think they're the people that are closest to the church are the ones that are just like, okay, yeah. But in reality, they're shitty people, I think. There's a lot of shitty people, and they just think just because they're going to pray for like 10 minutes, it's pretty much like a clean slate, and now it's open. And I don't think that's okay, in my perspective.
I agree, and I think that's kind of, the issue with religion is it's like, if you do this and if, X, Y, Z, then you'll be fine. But I know a lot of people who are extremely religious, but they're really bad people to be around. Yeah, They do bad things. They treat people badly. And it's like, okay, you have to follow the entire word, the entire path. You have to embody that.
It goes back to what you were saying earlier. God, I just spaced my mind. We were talking about like how like each person kind of like embodies that. And it's like, the set of guidelines or rules that someone has, it's like you got to follow them.
It's like a quote that I put the other day from Ed Miles. He says, "Be a good man, not a nice man." It's because a good man's gonna do. A nice man just kind of goes along with the flow because he just want to be cool with everybody. No, a good man knows that when it's something in his values, his roots, that he's just like, this is the line. Like, I'm not doing more. I think that's the good man. Sometimes the good man looked like a bad man because he's not going with the agenda, I guess you could say.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with that. And along those routes too, or along those lines too, the good man is the one who's going to stick to his word, to do the right thing for himself and for others, to put everyone's best interest forward, not just what the nice guy might do.
Yeah. Switching topics a little bit now that I'm just remembering, you got your tarot?
I do have my tarot cards with me.
Yeah, I mean, we'd never. Let's see. You said you were going to do on an Erick?
I've never experienced it. I've always been curious.
Yes. Would you like to do the reading for you then?
Sure.
Okay. I have a whole setup, I do. Is it okay if I move this, or would you like me to keep
Go ahead,
this?
you're fine. You go.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if it takes long to set up.
Do we need to do anything special? Move stuff out of the way?
We're all good. You are all good.
And just full disclosure for people, it's like we were talking about it before. Like, me and Monica are both a little skeptical about stuff like this, but we're always open to trying new things. That's the whole
within boundaries. Within not everything, guys. Like a lot of things, but not everything.
Boundaries are important.
That's one of the whole premises of the podcast. Like, talk to interesting people and experience new things and have an open mind.
Yeah.
So I have a question as you're setting up and stuff.
Of course.
There's because there's a lot of people, like other stuff, people and stuff that, like, with crystals, like, do they have like energy, as you could say? Like, could they get charged with energy or stuff like that? Or is it pretty much just like a selling scheme, I guess you could say, for people? Is there like real crystals that have it? And I'm trying to say, like, is there some that are just like, they're like fakes, I guess you could say?
Yeah, so there's definitely fake crystals out there. So it's important to find a reputable source if you're into crystals, that's for sure. When it comes to energy, though, all living beings have an energetic imprint, and this is something that can be scientifically proven, especially when it comes to crystals. They're interesting because they do have a vibrational frequency to them. They can emit certain frequencies, different, crystals do, and that's why they're used in things like lasers. Like we have, quartz and diamond lasers, things like that. There's a reason why they work, but then with the physical constituents of them as well, it overlaps into the metaphysical and the spiritual and energetic realms where, for example, with quartz, it's used in a lot of technology and, for lasers and things like that because it can hold a lot of energy, it can deal with a lot of energy. And diamond drill bits are really tough. So when we're looking at the energy of a quartz crystal, it's really good at transmuting a lot, and it's just good for overall protection. I don't really specialize in crystals too much myself. I can definitely speak about them a little bit. I'm not really a super big crystal girl, though.
Oh, okay. I'm just thinking, because a lot of people, I say, like you're saying, it protects you and stuff like this. And then me, like, I don't know anything about it, but I'm just like, no disrespect again for people, but it's like, I think, like, is a rock really going to protect me? Or is it just an object that I kind of make myself believe that me taking care of this object and me actually believing in it is going to protect me? Is it the belief in it or the object?
Exactly, and that's the thing, is I think that it's about intention, it's about the belief and the energy behind it more than anything. And I totally agree with you. Like, a quartz or obsidian bracelet is not going to protect you from getting robbed. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I got my bracelet, you better stay away.
If someone breaks into your house, or you got a big crystal, you just chuck at them and knock them out.
That way works.
They'll protect you.
Or you can just have bullets flying at them. That works too.
Exactly. There's a time and place for everything.
Yeah.
I think what it comes down to, though, is more to that belief. But also, I think when you're acting from and, embodying an energy of love, love is the highest protection and the highest frequency of energy that we can experience. And so I think that when you're really embodying that energy, it doesn't really matter what's going on outside of you, you're divinely protected. Things like that. But, for myself, I have my own superstitions and beliefs and things like that. So, I'm putting these aren't crystals. Well, this is a smoky quartz crystal. But these are rocks, actually from Morgan County. And I just carry these with me to kind of ground the mat. And I have a lot of beliefs. I practice a lot of Native American beliefs and a lot of traditional Chinese medicine. So I have one for each of the 4 directions. And so it's not so essential when I'm doing readings. I just happen to carry all of this with me. But when I'm doing Reiki sessions, especially if I'm at like a holistic fair doing Reiki sessions, or if I'm doing a Reiki session for the first time, I set up the rocks in the order, one to the north, south, east, and west, to ground the mat, to give me kind of that extra grounding, because I'm going to be all up in the energetic realms. I need something to ground me. And then I have the smoky quartz on top of the mirror. I bring that with me more so to shows, because this is what I set up with for shows. Just to kind of reflect any bad energy sent my way. So the mirror is like a reflection, and then the smoky quartz helps to transmute it and everything. When it comes to crystals, things like that, different protection items, protection sprays, protection oil rollers, whatever it may be, even protective meditations or your own, certain ritual or practice, everyone has their own. Whether you're in the spiritual or more religious world, or, neither. So I think what it comes down to, though, the biggest thing is the power of belief and intention. But then also knowing, like when you said, to pull out a gun, if need be.
Yeah, come on. Like, we need to be a little...
Exactly.
I think, like, let's be realistic. Like, you know,
I agree.
For a lot of stuff.
I completely agree. Yeah, we're physical beings, too.
Yeah. So we'll let you... How long does it usually take for you to do, like, a tarot read and stuff?
I could read forever.
Okay.
So it varies for each person. So I've got a few different decks with me. These are the 4 decks I bring with me to a show. So actually, out of all of them, the only one that's truly a tarot deck is this guy. And all of my decks are based on nature because that aligns with me the most. Like I said, I practice a lot of Native American beliefs. So I practice a lot with nature. So I guess, Erick, what would you like addressed in the tarot reading so I can better decide for you what to use?
I don't know, what could you address? I'm
Really,
not too familiar
anything.
with
It can just be a general reading about what you need to know. It could be, is there something you need to let go of? Is there something you need to focus on? What your future has ahead for you. A lot of times people want love readings, too, which I really don't do love readings. I don't like doing them at all.
She can't tell you if they're going to break your heart or not, Erick. Right?
Damn.
I can a little bit. But again, the way I read tarot is very different because of my particular skill set that I have.
Okay. Let's just do a general one.
A general reading?
Yeah.
Just what Erick
get
needs to
overall.
know right now?
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. So I'll always start with the tarot card. So like I was saying, out of the 4 decks I have, this is truly the only tarot deck. And so tarot actually originated as an Italian card game about 150 years ago, and it slowly changed throughout time. So there's been a lot of different recreations of it, so it's interesting to see. It's a deck of 78 cards, and it works within different suites, just like a playing card deck. So it works, I base a lot on nature, so I go with fire, water, earth, and air. And then there's, greater themes in the tarot deck as well. So I think it's 22 bigger cards. It's called the Major Arcana, and those kind of touch upon, like greater collective themes that each person will go through. So the first card of the deck is the Fool. That's kind of like, the beginning of life. Like when you're born, you're kind of a fool. You have this wide open slate ahead of you. And then the last card kind of signifies the end of that journey. So they all touch on different themes that each person goes through in their life. And then the suites kind of embody more of, those directed messages, things like that. So I'll go ahead and ask, what does Erick need to know right now? What are the messages for Erick at this time? You need to stop doubting yourself so much. That's coming up very strongly. Okay. What does Erick need to know right now? What are the messages for him? There's also something, too, coming up with your love life. The love that you desire will come to you one day, but it's going to take time because you do have such, this sweet soul. I see it in you. I saw it when I met you. You are so sweet and genuine, and unfortunately, we live in a world where not everyone is like that. So it's going to take you time to find a soul like yours. And that's okay, because good things take time. Let's see. The message is almost here. Yeah, there's just a lot of themes coming up with your heart chakra and your solar plexus about that self-worth and knowing that you deserve it, you deserve love, you deserve everything you desire. All right. Would you like me to show the cards, or would you like me to continue with the reading?
Like to the camera, you're saying?
Yes.
We could show them.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So the first card is this. It's the 4 of feathers in this deck, so the 4 of fire. And then this is the Ace of Wands, or the Ace of Air reversed. And then we've got the 2 of fire, or the 2 of feathers in this deck. And then we've got the Star. So the Star is one of the major arcana cards that I was referencing earlier, but these other 3 are in the suites. So we've got 2 fire cards and 1 air card, so we're missing water and earth. And so each of the suites kind of aligns with like a certain aspect of the self. Like air cards align a lot more with our mental energy or thoughts. Fire cards align a lot more with actions. Earth cards speak a lot more about the physical realms, being grounded, logical, practical, things like that. And then water cards speak about emotions. So going into this reading, it does touch a bit on the messages that I was picking up for you beforehand. So we've got the 4 of fire, optimism, and this depicts a beautiful scene of a prairie dog singing and celebrating together. And it's something that they do. Some people find it annoying, but it is a very beautiful and sacred act, the prairie dogs and how they unite and communicate together. You're being asked a lot to literally be optimistic, to celebrate, to surround yourself with people around you. And looking at the 4 then, going back into astrology, to the 4th house, Cancer, focusing a lot on the environment that you're surrounded by, focusing a lot on your home life, and the things that you can do, I think, to bring yourself little moments of joy throughout the day. Whether that's, redecorating a little bit of your space, or like having some type of motivational image or quote, or something you wear, even like your phone screensaver. I feel like there's a message about that you need to be surrounding yourself more with that, and to take action to have those positive people, places, and things in your life. And then truth reversed, the Ace of Wands reversed, or the Ace of Air reversed. You're still trying to figure out exactly who you are, trying to figure out your truth. As you'll notice, tarot is a bit intuitive, but sometimes it's spelled out a little bit too. And this is going to take some time, and these 2 cards are very interwoven here, the truth and the success card, because you're still trying to think about the future, you're still trying to think about the things ahead of you, and that's influencing the person that you're shifting and molding into today. And these 2 are intertwined, the more you're trying to figure out who you are and what's going on, the more that's going to impact who you are in the future. But you're trying to kind of, the energy I'm picking up is like you're trying to combine the 2 of them too much. Like you're too focused on the future when you need to be focused more on the present and the foundation and roots that you are building, because everything is going to figure itself out. And that shows up in the Star. You will shine. You'll be recognized for who you are. And the Star brings great light, great healing, great hope to everything. And I feel like you are a very positive influence in a lot of people's lives, but you need to find that for yourself too. I think that your brother is a very positive influence in your life, and I'm very happy that you have him. But I can tell that you've struggled with some of the people you've been around before. It feels like there's a recent thing too going on. And so it's really important that you find yourself again, you find your light again, you find and realize who you are, that you really are the star, and that you can be the star of your own show. Again, going back to some of the things I was picking up with the heart and the solar plexus earlier, and the idea of feeling deserving, feeling worthy, feeling confident in who you are, and having that high self-esteem and confidence, and just that power of knowing who you are and what you stand for, being able to walk through that and with that. And you're still in that process of figuring it out, and it's going to take a while. And I think it's really important that you stay gentle with yourself during this process, And that's the thing, too, I think that you need to know is that this is always going to be shifting and cycling out. Yes, there's some things that are always going to hold true to you, but it's okay to constantly be doing an inventory and constantly be changing as well. The other thing, too, with the Two of Fire coming up, there is a lot of emphasis on finding a balance and harmony again, finding a flow again, especially in your home life. But then also I think when it comes to balancing your work and home balance, that's a big thing that's coming up for you, for sure.
Very interesting.
Yes. I'm going to do some self-care cards right now. I do every reading with these, and I love it. Just some simple things to finish your reading with. But there's another card in there for you. So what does Erick need to know right now? What are some things that he can do to take care of himself and to support himself through this process? The other thing, too, with the truth is it's okay to not know your truth. But there's a big aspect here that's coming up with being able to speak your truth, being able to communicate it, and not feeling like you have to shut yourself down for anyone, not feeling like you have to hide or silence or suppress your voice. I think it'd actually be good, almost like a somatic practice for you to practice kind of like talking out loud and kind of not like raising your voice, like not like yelling in a room, but like just like practice and experiment with your voice and your range and like how you can, influence more with your voice, and how your voice changes too when you're around people, and especially certain people, places, and things, how it might kind of shut you down a little bit. I think that's an important exercise for you. Yeah. And noticing too, like when you're laughing, when you're talking, when you're flowing more, because there's a big thing that's coming up with the throat for you. All right, what does Erick need right now? All right. Got dreams, truth, rest. Let's see. Yep, it's just these. So we've got dreams. And then on the back it says, think big, there are unseen forces ready to support your dreams. And then truth. Tell the truth. Integrity is the key to living an authentic life. And rest. Rest and relax. Release guilt and make your needs a top priority. And then your message is in this deck. And so this deck is a medicine wheel deck. And so like I was saying earlier, I work a lot with Native American beliefs and traditions. And then I also have a Wisdom of the Trees oracle. So this is more of an oracle deck. So let's just ask, what does Erick need to know right now? What are the messages for him at this time? There is a male energy that's coming through. It doesn't necessarily mean it's an ancestor. It could just be a guide. It could just be a random soul popping through that has a message to deliver. But the message was that you need to be strong and, oh gosh. Again, a lot of the themes I've been talking about. To not doubt yourself, to know your truth, to know your value, to know your worth, to stand up for yourself and advocate for yourself. But they said something else, and then as soon as I started talking to you, I lost it. Oh, goodness. I'm sorry.
Happened to me earlier, too. It's okay.
Yeah. All right. have the porcupine reversed. What is the message with this card? Learn how to balance being strong and soft. Yes, it's important to be protected, to be guarded, but you also have to realize when to let your guard down, and also realizing your sacred and your honored path that you walk. Okay, yeah, now it's coming back to me, the message. Realizing really who you are, what you bring, what you offer in this world, and who you're meant to be. But you're being asked a lot to, I think, look within and not come off so defensively all the time, and not to always, to change kind of how you react in the face of aggression or in the face of confrontation, because I was picking up some avoidant tendencies from you, but then it's kind of like you keep things in and then you kind of like snap and like lash out a little bit. So they really want you to learn how to slowly take each little prickle off. Slowly learn how to go through that process of shedding it, and not just stifle and keep things in until it's too late. Learn how to have your defenses up so that that doesn't happen in the first place, and learn how to be soft and learn how to let them down again, because just like the porcupine, those pricks can go on and down. And so it's about monitoring that. And you are very sensitive. I definitely see why you've been hurt before, because you do have a really like kind soul. I would say that you're an empath. I would say that both of you are, honestly. You're very sensitive to people around you. You care a lot about people around you and just people in general. And so you're always trying to put others' interest first. But it's important to learn how to put your own interest first too. And in that way as well, you won't feel the need to be so on guard all the time. And that need of feeling to be on guard is something that you need to sit with too. To go back and realize where it came from. And I have a feeling that you already are. I'm not going to touch on some of those things though in a podcast. But you don't have to be so strong all the time. You can find your strength in other ways too. All right, we have the eagle reversed and the birther reversed. Take what you want to take from the past and leave what you want to leave. No one can take your true power or energy ever away from you. And it's okay to forgive. It's going to be a very important lesson for you, learning how to forgive, learning how to let go.
Okay. Very interesting.
You're welcome. And then also with learning how to take everything and make it your own, how to bring new light, new meaning to it, while maintaining and respecting your roots.
Very interesting.
You're welcome. Yeah. I love tarot, and especially when we get into like oracle decks and everything, it's so interesting. Would you like to take a picture of this maybe for another time, or should I leave it out?
Yeah, let me take a...
Okay. We can leave it out too throughout the, duration of the podcast.
Perfect.
That's
Alright.
interesting. So what do you think, Eric? Was it, is it like for reflection, like for him, like later on, or is it pretty much as like him, like kind of as a person now, I guess you would say?
So I think it really varies. For some people, I might kind of read the exact same messages over and over and over again, but it just has a little bit of a different tone each time.
Okay.
For some people, it changes. I think that tarot is a really good tool to be able to check in and just see where you're at and what's going on,
Yeah, like as you were like talking and saying all these things, I think it's more like a reflection. You're like saying some stuff, and I'm like, oh, I guess that happens sometimes. Oh, I guess that kind of like relates to me and stuff. Which I feel probably happens to a lot of other people. So you start like just talking, and then you like find like these points in like their own lives that like stuff relates to as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's a really good way to just check in and have that self-reflection. And sometimes it's easier for someone to do it for you. You know, even if you're aware of a lot of these things, and for the most part, people are. You know, I talk about or I touch on things, and they're like, oh, yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. But again, like we were saying at the beginning, it's like a lot of people just know and they avoid and they just, you know, keep it down. But I do think that tarot can bring a lot of illumination and clarity to people.
Yeah, like I've never like been to therapy, but I feel like it's a form of therapy.
It is.
Because it's just like it's like someone to kind of bounce ideas off. Like someone talk. Like I've never been to therapy, so I can't speak on that side of it. But it's like just as you talk more and more, like your mind starts to like wander and actually starts to open up and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
And just like I don't know, it just kind of starts. Relating, like you're like whether you want to or not, like your subconscious like starts relating, because like how the human brain works is like you want to find patterns. Exactly. So it's like whatever you're saying is like my brain's gonna find a way to like tie it to it, even if it's maybe not as strong as a feeling or anything, but I think that's how the human brain works, like trying to find a pattern and like make sure it fits in.
Exactly. I completely agree. Trying to logic our way out of it. Yeah, the human brain is great for that, you know, that logical side of the brain, but it's that emotional side we need too, that balance, just like everything in life.
So you were saying like my love life is going to take some time.
Yes. Yes, because you deserve someone who can bring the same energy you bring. And it's going to take some time to find that.
That's interesting because I'm actually getting married next month.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That is very interesting. I was picking up that there's been a lot of issues. Not necessarily with your fiance right now, but just in the past that, like, you've been used. Like, people have hurt you. And again, not every reading is super accurate. You know, there's times where I'm incredibly spot on, and, you know, there's been times where I've connected with someone on the other side, and, like, I saw his facial hair changing, and I was like, what is going on? Like, it's like he has, like, 4 different appearances. And the guy was like, yeah, that's what happened throughout his life.
Oh, wow.
And it's crazy. Like, how would I know that?
Like, different phases of his life.
Yeah, like, different facial hair.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and he just kept changing, and I was like, okay, this is weird how he's showing me this loop. But then there's times like that where it's like, okay, maybe I misinterpreted the message, because again, you know, these things are just coming to me that, you know, I'm reading the cards and interpreting them through my own perspective, through my own energy and beliefs. Whereas, you know, a different
and just like other people know, like, this is the first time we meet in person, so it's like not like planned or anything.
Oh yeah, no, I had never met you guys before.
So how accurate what do you say, Eric, is like to like your life?
I feel like
you said you were connecting with quite a few of them, so it's like.
Well, I feel like it's kind of accurate, but I feel like a lot of people, if you give them the same reading, they could also like relate to it and could also find everything like very accurate. Because like I was saying before, like the human mind's gonna find a way to connect things whether you want it to or not.
I agree.
So I feel like it's what you were telling me is like the self-doubt and all that stuff. I feel like it's important for everybody to not have self-doubt in their life, to be able to trust who they are and believe like who they want to become.
Yes, I completely agree, and a lot of people struggle with it. Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Because I saw you writing some stuff down as
I was just kind of taking notes on some of the stuff. The thing that was kind of like interesting, I'm just wondering. I mean, like, no, like disrespect to like what you do and stuff, but do you think they'll get a point where you know how the government is? They like to regulate everything. Well, they'll try to like regulate some sort of this, because like we're talking about like the holistic stuff, because this thing's not like I guess like a product, like of something like. I don't know if you know what I mean, kind of.
I do know what you mean, yeah. So there are regulations in place currently for a lot of, you know, holistic practitioners in different modalities that can be legally practiced, and each state has their own laws. So Colorado, luckily, is a protected state. So, you know, even if you go over into Nebraska or Kansas, like, I may not be able to practice reflexology without a massage license.
Okay.
You know, things like that. So each state has their own laws, but then on a federal level, there's legislation in place too. And that comes down to, you know, labeling supplements, things like that, you know, which you can or, you know, can't say that you can treat, diagnose, you know, things like that. But so in the United States, when it comes to herbal medicine and supplements, that's the big, like, hot topic right now. And that's the big thing that's going on from a legislative perspective. And so there is a lot of pushback to kind of try to push it more into big pharma, unfortunately. But right now, you know, like, labeling requirements for vitamin C can vary from 10 different producers and manufacturers. So it really just depends, and it really just, it varies a lot. When it comes to things, you know, like tarot, or I would say anything that's in one of those more metaphysical or spiritual realms, I don't see that ever being, like, regulated or governed, just because it's so difficult. But it's easy to be like, okay, all reflexologists in the state need to be, you know, licensed or something.
Oh, okay.
That's easier.
Because my thing, I was just thinking about it, like, you tell people, because each person, like you said, reacts different, but you tell somebody, say you give somebody these readings, and then they go out and they do it. Well, like, she told me, and then they try to come back, like, you know how people are, they want to, like, sue you for everything. Mm-hmm. Do you think there'll be a time where, you know, that will happen, I guess? I don't know if it kind of makes sense what I'm asking.
It does. Yeah, and that's why I have a consent form.
Okay.
that
okay, there you
everyone
go.
signs.
Okay.
Yeah, especially if I'm doing, like, Reiki or wellness coaching. When it comes to tarot, though, you know, I don't really do that. I used to keep consent forms on file for tarot readings and, like, psychic medium readings, and, like, I would, you know, have my little notes and everything. I'd write down the reading or, you know, what came up. I don't do that anymore. But I do see potentially something like that happening. And I think, too, within the spiritual community in particular, it's really easy for practitioners to take advantage of people. There are a lot of people who are scams. So, you know, if anyone ever has an issue with me, I just, like, offer them a refund. I'm like, it is what it is. Like, I just, whatever. Like, I'm not arguing with you about this. Yeah, okay. But, you know, liability insurance exists for a reason. Yeah. Again, going back to that logical side.
I'm just curious, just asking from, like, that standpoint, because, I mean, you know, the government, like, the government works if they see something that's kind of trending, doing pretty good, they're like, I want the piece of the pie. So that's why I'm just kind of
like
wondering
the marijuana
regulations.
Business.
Yeah, like the marijuana.
Like, oh, it's working. Oh, let me get a piece of this.
Yeah, and they're trying to promote synthetic cannabis, which is actually more harmful to the body and doesn't interact with the cannabinoid receptors in the body, really.
Yeah. And then another thing I was thinking also was on the... Dang, I just completely spaced out. I was barely going to say it. No, go ahead.
About like the reading and stuff?
Huh?
Were you thinking about like the reading? Or?
No, I'm just thinking kind of like how like the lobbying and stuff is to pass certain laws, and, you know, because you've seen a lot of the stuff. There's a documentary that I've seen a while ago, I believe. It was like like you're saying, the scammers. There's a lot of scams. They're selling like miracle water, and in reality it was just like they were just getting water and like putting it in a can and like bottles, you know, selling it, but they're just like, it was hose water, you know. They weren't even doing anything with it, and then it sucks, but it's the person that loses at the end, you know.
Is there a way to detect scammers?
Yeah. So I think that, you know, when you're dealing with spiritual metaphysical stuff, that's a different world than, like, a holistic practitioner. Usually a holistic practitioner will have certifications or a degree or some type of title or something. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're not a scammer, though. You know, they may be a really bad practitioner. You know, like it's just like, you know, there's therapists out there that, you know, you can go to them and they may not, you know, be a really good therapist or something. They might be, like, really critical or mean or, you know, whatever it may be. So I encourage people to use their intuition and, go based upon their interactions with the person. I think it's more than acceptable to ask someone for their certifications or, educational levels, their background, and also to, inquire a little bit. For a lot of my services, I think that people are really hesitant. First, because of what I charge. I understand it. We're in Northeast Colorado. It's not, it's not Denver. But, so I get it. So if that means I take 30 minutes out of my day to talk to someone and we kind of do a little bit of a mini session without me getting paid for it, I will do it because it's about making people comfortable for me. Because a lot of times, especially for my clients, they're at their last wit's end they're at their wit's end with, their health issues and with any type of medicine, with any type of, health advice or health person. So I again, kind of going back to some of the things that we've talked about, I think it's really important to always, bring forward in a really professional and responsible capacity, and to really be mindful of how you're impacting someone. When it comes to, the spiritual stuff, really big signs of having a scammer are if someone approaches you or if they're like, someone placed a hex on you and you need to pay all this money for me to remove it. Things like that, asking for money up front.
So if someone goes to someone, they're like, oh yeah, you have this curse on you. You need to come do X amount of sessions with me and I'll take it off.
Exactly.
Is that a sign of a scammer?
That is. Okay. That definitely is.
I hear a lot of radio ads like that going on with some stuff like that. There's a lot of advertisement of stuff get that. You give us this much and we'll help you. Mm-hmm. It's do you really want to help them or you just want the money?
One of the problems I hear is have you been unlucky in love? Oh, it's probably because someone has a little curse on you or something. Instead of oh, you're probably a piece of shit.
You're probably ugly.
You're probably fat and out of shape and nobody wants you.
SpongeBob and Patrick, have you seen that one? I caught the ugly. Have you seen that? I don't know if you've seen that episode. I watch it with my kids. It's
super bad breath or something.
Yeah, the onion breath. He's I think I got the ugly.
Oh man, that's too funny.
That's funny. But so talking about this weekend, you got an event coming up, right?
Yes.
The 26th. Tell us a little bit about how what's all going to go on it and how to get there and stuff.
Yeah, so I will be hosting the second ever Holistic Fair for Morgan County. I'm super excited. I hosted the last one back in February, and it's going to be at the same venue. So we'll be meeting at the Block, which is the Old Country Stakeout. It's a new commissary kitchen and event center. It's really cool. If you guys haven't been, I really recommend checking it out. So that'll be this Saturday, August 26th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And so there's going to be a farmer's market that same day at the Block in the front parking lot. So you can go get your veggies, and then you can shop for some holistic apothecary items, crystals, metaphysical items, jewelry, home decor, and clothing. And then we're also going to have a variety of practitioners, both from the Front Range and in the local area. So we've got another tarot reader, who's my dear friend, and she's gone to a few shows with me. So she'll be there doing tarot and oracle, angel card readings, and then I'll be offering readings in all my different services that I do in addition to Reiki sessions. And then we will have another Reiki healer that will also be doing sound healing sessions and ear seeds or auriculotherapy. And then we're going to have 2 massage therapists, and we will have a local acupuncturist providing cupping sessions. We're going to have an animal communicator who's also a naturopath and medical intuitive doing animal communication readings and healings. We're going to have a local CBD company from Brush, Numi Organics. And then my dear friend Tammy, she's a second-generation Lakota herbalist, and she has a wonderful apothecary business. She'll be there with her goods. We're going to have 2 metaphysical vendors, a clothing and jewelry vendor, some wax melts, some home decor, all different types of things, essential oils. It's really going to be your one-stop shop for all your holistic and natural lifestyle needs. And just, if you want to come learn more about it, if you're trying to find more natural ways of living, it's going to be a great place to connect.
So will people be able to actually do sit-down sessions with other people there, actually do one-on-one kind of meetings with you and stuff?
Yeah. So I'll be reading, and then my friend Catherine will be reading as well. So Catherine just does like tarot, oracle, and angel card readings. And then I'll be offering tarot, psychic medium, past life, medical intuitive, and spiritual counseling sessions in addition to Reiki sessions. So I'll have my little table and my booth, or my massage table booth. And then my friend Sarah will be offering Reiki sessions as well. And then we'll have 2 massage therapists from the area offering massage therapy, craniosacral therapy, things like that. Then we will have a local acupuncturist there too. So she'll be doing cupping sessions, and cupping is a really cool thing within TCM. So yeah, there's going to be people there doing readings, and then our animal communicator will be outside because animals aren't allowed on site at the block with it being a commissary kitchen. So she'll be outside, so you can, pull up your trailer, especially with this being an ag town. She can communicate with horses, pigs, chickens, dogs, cows, you name it. So she'll be there. So yeah, it's going to be a really cool place. If you want a reading, if you want a healing session, if you just want to learn more, if you want to shop, if you want some crystals, if you want some jewelry, if you want some natural home products, things like that. If you want a cream for your eczema, if you want some essential oils, it's going to be a great place to go. And then we will have the CBD vendor there too.
That's great. No, that's great. And then what's the easiest, I guess,
place for people to find
for
you.
people to find you or be able to contact you?
Yeah, so my Facebook page is going to be the best place to find me, and I'm under Holistic Home and Health. That's my business page, but you can also follow me on my personal profile if you'd like. I'm under Madeline M. Hagan. And so there's a Facebook event linked to both of those pages. That's the Summer Holistic Fair, and you can go and check it out. I've done a few vendor shout-outs and highlights that just give, some more background and information and provide a few photos to each vendor and what they're going to be doing. And then we're also going to have on-site food and drinks from After Hours and Anna's Dancing Grill. And like I said, too, there's going to be a farmer's market that morning, so you can go get your sweet corn and, go get some crystals, too.
There you go. No, that's great. That would be a good way for people if they're, thinking of reaching out to you or something, I think it'd be a great way for them to just kind of come in, swing in and meet you, and
exactly.
Stuff chat a little bit before they want to do anything or anything.
Exactly, yeah, and I love connecting with people. I love talking to them, and so it's a great opportunity to just network, I think, and to meet other people and to see. In Fort Morgan, we have alternatives to Western medicine. We have, spiritual healers and readers and people like that. And then we have, energy healers. We have energy practitioners. We have massage therapists. We have all different types of people who can help support you with your mind, body, spirit wellness and your own individual health or spiritual journey.
You don't have to go to the big city anymore. We got it. Got it in here.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's super awesome. We'll put all the info where people can find you and stuff down in the description and stuff. But yeah, Madeline, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come join us on the show today. We really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure, and it was wonderful to connect with both of you, and especially to be your first tarot reading.
Yeah, I appreciate it too.
Yeah, appreciate everything, and hope people swing by this weekend and check your guys' stuff out and what you guys are doing. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Okay.
And guys, remember, an act of rebellion is the question.
Okay, appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated.